Yeah.
Does it ever feel that like sometimes there are some therapists that actually look at you and it feels like they're judging you a little bit?
Oh my God, yes.
Oh.
It's like, are you gonna help me or you're just
Like,
gonna
you're not
stare
paying
like
attention.
that?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
You are welcome.
I need glasses and I had them, but my dog ate them.
I'm nice and triggered, ready to go.
Sorry about that.
My God.
It's okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Anxiety Hacks podcast. My name is Liv.
And I am Gaby. This is the podcast where we talk everything about mental health and well-being.
Today we interview a YouTuber. Her name is Emily Rose, and Emily is a mental health YouTuber. So she, talks about her own experiences and her own mental health conditions, and just is a really genuine person who is trying to make this conversation more, I don't know, freely spoken about and stuff like that. So it's a real pleasure for us to interview Emily today. So we'll get to the show and enjoy.
Stay tuned.
So today we have Emily. Hello, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Hello.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us. Oh, sorry, this always happens with the Zoom delay, but me and Gabby are always just so happy to have people come talk on. So we're both like, thank you for coming.
I feel like we need some signs like me, or you.
Put a hand up or something.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, so this is Emily, Emily Rose. Is that how you formally introduce yourself? And she is a mental health YouTuber as well. I'm going to say, and you share your own experiences with anxiety. And a new word that I learned today was agoraphobia. Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And OCD, or formerly known as obsessive compulsive disorder. These are pretty big things to live with, and quite personal things, but I think you're sharing them so nicely and so beautifully through your YouTube channel that it seemed to capture quite a nice little audience, eh?
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you to say, because I think I'm still in that phase of being like, even though I've been doing it for ages, I'm still in the phase of like, is this okay to post? But it's really nice that you enjoy them. Good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, I
was looking
totally get that.
At your YouTube channel, and I was like, it's actually very it feels very real. Like you're very sincere about your experiences and your daily, routine. And I was like, oh, this is super nice, and I can see why people keep coming back to your videos and see what you're up to. So very good content.
Yeah, like she said, sorry, I don't know if you're one of those, if you don't like it when you get overwhelmed with compliments. I always feel really
I love it.
Keep coming. Okay, good. Right. Because I was going to say, I watched a video earlier this evening, and it was you were about to talk about something. I think it was like a bad panic attack, and your cat was was going to the bathroom while you're on the camera, and you're like, you're just there going, I'm sorry, I'm just going to pause this real quick. Had a good giggle. So
yeah, I feel like there's a little bit of humor in your videos, which is
good.
Yeah,
which is always good. Yeah,
so nice. So what got you into talking on YouTube? What got you in front of getting the confidence to be in front of a camera and just like talking how you do so authentically?
I think I had left school, so I no longer cared about that crowd, which I think is one of the hardest things. You can't do things that are slightly different when you're at school, I feel, or that's it. So I'd left school, and I was still, I just got really, really unwell. And I used to watch people's YouTube videos all the time, but I never saw people that talked about what I went through. And I actually didn't know until I started making YouTube videos that other people had panic attacks. I had no idea. I really didn't. I knew that anxiety was a thing, but I didn't know people suffered with it to the extent I did as well. And so it's helped me massively, just as much as it hopefully helps other people. I think I was like 16 when I first started the YouTube channel.
Nice. It's so cool. And what was your first video? And do you remember like how you felt about recording it and then like posting it, and like being anxious even about that back at the time?
I think so. I remember the video I filmed was my parents were both going to a wedding far away. Yeah. And I was just like, it was so awful. Like the anxiety I felt was just so awful. Just like, what if this happens? What if this happens? I had like a schedule of what TV programs were going to be on that day so I could watch them. I had like all the things I could eat that wouldn't make me feel sick. Like I had just like everything was planned out so well. And I was like, I might just film today and just like see if anyone else experiences this. And I also didn't think that anyone would ever see it. But they did. And that video is not there anymore because, oh my God, I just feel like it would be so embarrassing now.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just like, I can't even remember the first kind of comments that I got, but I remember when people would come back and be like, I have this too. I was like, oh my God.
Really?
Oh my God, people have it too. Oh my, this is amazing. Oh, it was so incredible. And I still feel like that whenever someone posts and says that they relate to it, it's like, oh, thank God, even now, like a million years later.
Yeah. What is the first like major mental health topic you started mentioning comfortably in your YouTube channel?
I think anxiety and panic attacks were the first thing I started talking about. Yeah, I think I've gone through lots of different things online as well. I've gone through a lot of different diagnosis. I've gone through moving house. I've gone through so many different things that have caused different types of anxiety. I think I've always been pretty comfortable to talk about it. I've never felt the need to shy away and not say certain things. And the more I've been on YouTube, the easier it's gotten. But I've always been quite almost feisty with it and saying, this is what I have and you need to understand it. And if you don't understand it, I don't want you to be a part of my life anyway. The most interesting thing is when I first started sharing it, the people in my real life started coming to me and sharing their mental health problems. That was one of the best things, was people that I would never in a million years think had anxiety or depression or anything like that started coming to me and feeling like I was a safe person they could talk to. And that was absolutely incredible. And it still happens now. And it's just like, I feel like it's opening conversations in my real life too, which is amazing.
When you were in high school, did you were you ever, open to your friends, like to share, your experiences? Because obviously you were really young at this point, and like you say, you didn't even know other people had the same things you did. So I'm thinking, did you quite understand that it was actually a condition, like it was not just you, because sometimes people think, oh, it's me, like something's wrong with me. So how was it for you when you were in high school, or when you were younger?
Yeah, it was really awful. It was because I knew I had panic attacks. I knew that's what I had, but I didn't have the confidence to say to teachers. It was mainly teachers I had a big issue with. I'm having a panic attack. I need to leave this room. And a lot of the time they thought I was skiving. They thought I was just not interested in learning. And I felt like I was walking around the school halls thinking, I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like I'm going to be sick. I feel like all of these horrible things are going to happen. But there wasn't anyone safe in the building that was trained in mental health at all. Which is so sad. And I feel like schools are hopefully getting a little bit better now, but I don't know. And my friends at that time knew I had this thing that meant I had to walk away sometimes. But again, I didn't have the confidence to explain to them. And because they were teenagers too, everything's quite self-involved at that time. So I think they probably were not, where they were just like, oh, what's she doing? I don't know. So yeah, I think, God, looking back, I do think about it sometimes and think, oh, I wish I could just say to that teacher what I was going through and hopefully get through to them. But yeah, school's really hard for everybody. And I think when you're having, it's frustrating because I think I would have got good grades if I had the right support, but I didn't. So that's quite frustrating, but yeah.
I think a lot of people could relate to you on that front. And I mean, especially myself. But at the time, it's only really in the last year or so that I myself have come to recognize that I actually had issues and was able to get those, sort of later diagnosed. Like panic attacks. I didn't know what panic attacks were so long. I always heard about them and thought they were I don't know. I didn't know what they were. I thought I wasn't having them though. I just thought I was really, I don't know, going to be sick because I'd eaten something funny or something like that. But it was nothing to do with that. And it's crazy what, like, you know, your stress hormones can do, like, to your body. You know, and the your cortisol goes up, and you start having like gut problems and things. Well, I don't know if that's for everyone, but definitely for me. Yeah, gotcha. Do you feel like, are there any teachers that you would ever feel like you could go back to or be able to explain that to? Would you want to? I don't know. Do you ever share your videos to them and be like, fuck you?
Well, I'd love to.
Yeah.
And I did email the head teacher at one point when I was really angry, having a really angry day, being like, this is what I went through and I didn't get any support and it's not okay. Because they used to have counsellors in schools in Scotland, but they abolished that in like 2002, I think it was.
What?
Don't know why. Don't know why. It was just like a funding cut or something like that.
Okay.
But I do have a couple of friends now that are training to be teachers, and it sounds like it's getting a little bit better. They're getting more education. It's also tricky because I believe that we should meet people where they're at. And if these teachers have never heard of panic attacks either, then how can we expect them to create a safe space for pupils?
That's so true. Yeah.
There
are a lot of teachers that are not trained, and I will say not just where you are, but like everywhere. You know, they don't know. Here in Peru, I remember when I was younger, it was even worse. You know, like access to information. Where obviously there was no the facility to having to looking it up online. You know, when I was younger, at least here in this town, you know, it was like, I don't know, everything was just much more old, you know, like people, the way of thinking. And like you said, it reminded me a lot too when I was younger. You know, if you were feeling sick or something, a lot of times teachers take it out, oh, she just doesn't want to be here, she's just making up an excuse to get out, you know. And sometimes they will make you feel bad for it, you know, like stop whining, stop. Like they take it as a form of like a rebellion or something, you know, against teachers, instead of actually understanding, okay, something's wrong probably with this kid here, she's probably sick, you know, feeling like something, you know. And when you're younger, you don't know how to put it in words. Like I remember when I started going to therapy sessions, one of the things we did is like exercises to sort of remember what it was like for me to like experience anxiety when I was younger. And like there's this one episode that I remember, and I didn't know it was anxiety. I just thought I was being naughty, you know. And I remember something had happened. Like I had an argument at school. Like something happened, and I was like at this point 10, and I came home and I was just like having like terrible, like the sweats, you know, I was sweating and I was just like so angry. And then I was just like, I had like that sense of desperation that nobody could listen, even though my mom was here, everybody was here, and they just couldn't understand. So I was in my room, and I remember feeling like super, super desperate, you know, like that was the word that I would use, you know, desperate, like, and I wanted to just get out, you know. So I grabbed a little backpack and I was packing my stuff, and I just wanted to go for a walk to the park and stuff, even though I couldn't. And so later my therapist told me, well, you are clearly going through a panic attack. Those are, you know, clear signs, but nobody's trained to see that. So obviously, and it manifests in different ways too. That's something I learned, that panic attacks are not the same for everybody. So like, can you walk us through some of the things that you experience when you go through your panic attacks?
Yeah, I mean, that was interesting hearing you say that, because I feel like I've had the exact same experience, and I always say I thought I was being naughty. Like I think everyone around me was like, she's having a tantrum, she's so naughty. And it's interesting that you've just said the same thing. For me, panic attacks have changed so much throughout the years. Like I was 10 when I had my first panic attack, and I used to feel like my throat was closing up and my tongue was swelling. Stuff like that. And I feel like almost when anxiety gets used to one symptom, it gives you another. Now it's like I just feel really, really sick, and I've got a phobia of sick. So I think that makes me like really panic. Something that really helps is I have anti-nausea tablets. So that means that they like shut the vomit receptors in your brain down. So there's no way that that can happen. That's been a massive help to me. If anyone else has emetophobia. But yeah, it's horrible because it feels like there's literally nothing you can do except ride it out. And I think that is one of the only ways to get through a panic attack, is just know that it will end, even when it feels like it literally will never ever end.
Yeah, and that's, you're just gonna eventually disintegrate or something. Okay?
Yeah, I don't know what
it does feel like that.
So you talked a bit about how it was quite hard to get those sort of things recognized at school. What was it like for you at home? Like, were your parents able to kind of pick up on things and get you the help eventually you needed?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before in my family. Like at first they also thought I was just being naughty. And then they'd take me up to like the sick children's hospital and stuff, give me a million blood tests. They were just like, what is wrong with this girl? Like, she won't go to school, she feels sick all the time. They didn't have the language or the understanding.
Oh, wow.
So it's also not, we don't want to blame anyone else, because it's like, again, just meeting people where they're at. But I didn't really get the support I needed until I was able to articulate it and look it up online myself.
Right.
And then my dad, bless him, he's now a very amazing person that's like always advocating for mental health. And he's done like documentaries with me about it, and he's like done interviews about it and stuff as well. Bless him. He's really
That's
now
so cool.
Trying to help other dads, I think, that are the fathers of anxious daughters, because I think there's a lot of them.
I think there is too, yeah.
Yep.
Especially, this day
I love how parents will take you to a hospital and like make you go through a lot of tests to see what's wrong with your body. But like, completely forget that your brain could also be going through something,
immense stress.
And it's taken as a I feel like now it's completely normal, but when I was younger, it was like, oh my gosh, she's going to a psychiatrist, she's going to a psychologist or some type of like therapist. Like, she's so young.
Yeah,
like
it's
something
even like
terrible.
that at high school.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
And I feel like parents like feel embarrassed for themselves. I feel like sometimes, because like if your child has to see a therapist, there must be something you are doing. I feel like that's the way they see it.
That's not,
and their
not
embarrassment, I
necessarily.
think their embarrassment feeds into us, and then we feel embarrassed. It's like, I think we, especially as children, we feel what our parents feel, and we pick up on, oh, this isn't okay that I'm going to therapy, and we then have that opinion. But yeah, like you said, I think in other places in the world, I think hospitals and doctors will take the whole person into consideration. But I think in Western medicine, like I know that we is like, oh, you've got a sore knee, this means that you've injured your knee. But actually, anxiety can cause knee pain. Anxiety can cause heart problems. Anxiety can cause like physical illnesses, but they just would never
consider it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so true.
It's really interesting. So coming back, because like I said today, I learned a new word just based on going on your YouTube channel, agoraphobia. For those who don't know what that is, would you mind explaining a little bit about that and what it looks like for you?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
It usually, so it's described in the dictionary as a fear of open spaces, which is not really a fear of open spaces. It's very different for every person. For me, I can leave my house within a certain vicinity. I work actually downstairs in a shop from my house, which is really nice. I don't have to go far.
That's nice.
And so like my little town, I'm fairly comfortable most days to walk around, but past that I feel very anxious. For some people it leaves them housebound and they can't leave the house at all. For some people it leaves them even bedroom bound and they're not able to leave their bedroom without really horrible panic attacks and symptoms.
Wow.
So that's what I used to be like at 18. I lived with my parents and I could not leave the house at all. And so for 3 months I didn't leave the house. I feel like after Corona, that doesn't sound like that long, but it felt like a really long time at the time.
Well, I'm not sure if treatment's the right word, but how are you in your own place now? Like, what was that transition like from being 18 to now getting to where you are now?
I think it's really hard to say, because I do believe that it's a million tiny things. I don't believe that it's ever going to be like you'll see this therapist and they'll cure you, or you'll go on this medication, it'll cure you. I think if anyone ever says to you, I've got a cure for anxiety, you should run the other way. It's a scam, it's a plot. Do you know what I mean? I think it's all about, I think the main thing is bettering your relationship with yourself and giving yourself permission to be unwell, to be anxious, to be, you know, whoever it is you need to be, in combination with everything else. Like, I think try all the different things, try massage, try acupuncture, try therapy. These are also all things that people need to pay for. And so it's in a privileged position to be able to even try these things out. But also, I think not trying to get rid of anxiety is a really huge thing, because I think we're then pushing ourselves, that part of ourselves, out of our system. I think that's not helpful. And the biggest thing to me was actually bringing my anxiety in and saying, what is it? What do you need? And I'm going to keep you safe. As the adult Emily, I'm going to keep this little anxiety safe and try, and hold its hand and listen to it.
It's really powerful.
You said that you mentioned earlier that it took you time to get the right diagnosis. Was this the product of like going to different therapists? Did you have to do your own research? What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was kind of a combination. And obviously in Scotland we get free healthcare, which is amazing, but none of the free healthcare specialists had a clue. So unfortunately for mental health, I think you can't really get, in my experience, good free mental health care in the UK. So you do have to go private. And so, oh my God, I've been to some ridiculous therapists over the years that have just been like, oh my God, what are you talking about? There are funny stories, but they weren't funny at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but then I found a therapist maybe like 5 years ago who was incredible, like absolutely incredible. I still think about her and still wonder how her kids are and stuff. So we just actually became friends as well, and like we laughed all the time in therapy and we cried together, and it was really beautiful. So I think you do need to kind of look around for the right person for you, because I know she probably wouldn't work for everybody else, but for me she was perfect. But that also takes a lot of energy to look around for a right therapist for you. And people with anxiety often don't have the energy to do that. So it's really hard.
It's kind of like you have to open yourself up to a new person, and then you kind of have to start your story again and see if it works. And if it doesn't, you kind of have to break up with that person and then go and open up again. And that has to be super exhausting. At least, I mean, it didn't take me that long, but for people that, you know, I heard that people go years looking for the right therapist, and it's like very mentally and like spiritually, I think, exhausting.
Yeah, that and like the whole factor of like having to advocate for yourself. I mean, I think a lot of people with anxiety, especially in the last like 5 years and now, you know, are having to advocate for yourselves, when actually anxiety doesn't like that type of the type of exposure. Like but yeah, it's so tiring to have to like you said, Gabby, just the constant talking of like what's going on for you until you find that right person.
Does it ever feel that like sometimes there are some therapists that actually look at you and it feels like they're judging you a little bit?
Oh my God, yes.
It's like, are you gonna help me, or you're just
like,
gonna
you're not
stare
paying
like
attention?
that?
Yeah, I definitely did. I got my first ever therapist. Every single time I went to her, she spelled my name wrong, and it's not a big deal. But also, Emily is quite a well-known name, and it's all felt the same way. And I remember just being like, that's just the perfect example of she just wasn't listening at all. And every time she spelled my name wrong, I'd be like, right, that's it. I'm done.
Need to find another one now. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if you don't know how to say Emily, then I don't know. It's like not knowing how to say Anna. You know?
Exactly.
That's like, Oh, right. So I was also watching a couple of videos about you and self-care, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this because something I'd been discussing in therapy this week as well is the importance of self-care and making sure you do the things that fit you personally as well, because self-care looks different for everyone. For you with OCD, anxiety, and agoraphobia, sorry, I probably shouldn't repeat that. This is my anxiety talking now, just filling out words. But what does self-care look like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it is completely different every single day. I mean, it's always the same. I mean, having baths is always my number one go-to, and it will always calm me down, always make me feel better, because I get very achy and exhausted. They're two of my biggest symptoms. So that always helps. And it's also sometimes, annoyingly, it's the things that you really don't want to do and you feel like are going to make you feel worse.
Yeah.
Are the things that are going to make you feel better. And so sometimes it's a gamble. But I think the biggest thing for me is probably always being on my own side with absolutely every situation and always advocating for myself, which is obviously a lot easier said than done, but always reminding myself I can go home whenever I want to, and always reminding myself that I'm in control and that I don't have to do anything that I'm not ready for, and other people can deal with their own emotions around that, but I just have to deal with mine. Again, easier said than done. Sometimes it's like, but yeah.
No, that's nice. It's beautiful. Yeah.
It just feels so nice to hear you, speak so, I guess, comfortably, even though some things may be a little hard for you, about your mental health, and I feel like I think about this all the time. Like, this is what we should do, just speak freely and normalize what it looks like to just struggle with these things, because for a while, I made myself look like everything was fine with me. And then when I started opening up, people were like, wow, I didn't know you were going through stuff like that, you look so well put together, like everything is under control.
That's
and
crazy.
Like, I love that you're also comfortable saying that you have OCD, because for a while, I didn't know that me being like super picky with how things are arranged in my room, or like over cleaning, like sometimes I would have like arguments with my mom or sister because things were moved or stuff like that, and they were like, calm down, it's just things, like, and I didn't know that, and that would make me very upset, and when I started going to therapy, I learned that those are forms of like my mind dealing with things, like, and it's so interesting how you mentioned that your routine kind of varies a little bit, it looks a little bit different.
It's interesting.
So true.
It is. I think for me, I always thought OCD is kind of like when your brain just cannot take the anxiety anymore, and so it comes up with a coping mechanism that is pretty extreme, but it's like you feel like you're in control. If you can control where that book is that you left on the table, you feel like you can control things, and if somebody moves it, then you're out of control again. It's really, it doesn't always make rational sense, but it does to your brain.
Brain. It's like
crazy.
it's like a warm cup of milk or something, to your brain.
Something comforting.
How has having a pet helped you? Because you have a cat, and I assume, life is a little less lonely with your cat next to you.
I love her so much. It's ridiculous. She's honestly the perfect pet, and I really think she's made an incredible difference to my life. And I live with my partner now too, and we both just are absolutely obsessed with her, and she's just so sweet. And I do feel like she can tell when I'm not feeling good. I've got chronic fatigue as well, and so often I'm lying on that sofa and just like exhausted. When I'm like that, she will curl up on the carpet next to me and just like make sure she's staying there. It's really sweet, and also she's just really funny, and she makes me laugh a lot.
It's good. Do you make like TikTok videos with it? I hope that cat's famous.
Not yet.
That's so good.
That will come.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how pets like kind of interact with how you're feeling, eh? Like I don't have to say I have a little dog, and I know Gabby, you have lots of dogs too. Do you find that you feel like they just understand you when you're feeling like utter shit?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I honestly, people that don't have pets sometimes will be like, oh, they're just like dogs or cats, or I have friends who've never had a pet in their life, and they blame it on their parents, like I was never able to have a dog or a cat or whatever, so it's like not normal for them. But I always had pets at home, so for me it's quite normal, and I've learned that they know what you're feeling. They feel what you're feeling. And I remember I took one of my dogs with me to the States when I was in college. And I was telling you, Liv, Liv, that when I was in college, that's when I actually went through perhaps my hardest time mentally. I was going through depression and anxiety. So my dog, I don't know, she's not even trained, but she sort of like adapted herself to be sort of like an emotional
support,
support dog. Because I remember one time I was just like freaking out. I was having the worst day of my life. Something happened at work. I had an argument with my boyfriend, and then on top of that, something happened. I was like going to get food and run into somebody. Like it's just like too much for me. So I ran home, closed the door, locked it, and I was just like panicking. I was like sitting in my couch, and I was like, this is horrible. I want to quit. I was like, crying. And then she came and she just laid on my lap, and she was just putting her head here. And it was like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? And she was just like moving her head to kind of like cheer up, And I looked at her and she knew what was going on. So I've learned that your pets, in general, animals they can sense things, and it's known that also horses can do the same thing.
It's the sense of smell. They can smell your chemicals and your hormones in your brain like producing, and to really feel it and understand it.
Oh no, it's amazing. It's amazing. And she's also forced me to go out and socialize, which I'll say I tend to be like, people that know me will think, oh, she's very outspoken and outgoing and very extroverted. And I'm like, no. When I'm like surrounded by strangers, I tend to go inward. Like I'm very reserved until I'm comfortable. And so she forced me to, because I had to walk her constantly, she like sort of invited me to meet other people, that have dogs and stuff. So for me, my pets have helped me a lot. It's
amazing. And I guess on that front too, like for you, Emily, how have you found like even having a pet and just being able to have your anxiety or have your be able to, I was about to say take it out on the cat, but you're not going to take it out. Be able to just like connect with that animal and like really feel that sense of, oh yeah, this thing understands me.
I think as well, I the place I work has a little puppy, and whenever I'm working there and I'm suddenly like, oh, I don't feel well, something's happening, I will go over to her and just like stroke her head and just like her. I don't know what it is, but I know that like you said, it is a thing. It is a thing that they do sense these things. I'm sure I watched a program once where in a school, a girl was having panic attacks and they brought a dog in for this girl. Like there's something that having a living, breathing thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'd love to know the science behind it more, but it just helps so much. And I wish I'd known more about that. But like, every time I'm feeling anxious and there's a dog around, I will feel so much better if I just slow down and stroke her.
I agree. I just got a puppy at the start of this year. It was kind of given to me because otherwise she was going to go be rehome. But it's been the best thing ever. I've been definitely at the start of this year had some pretty bad like high anxiety. I've got post-traumatic stress disorder, so I definitely find like not having, when my boyfriend isn't around at home or anything, I can't I can handle it, but I don't like it. And I definitely have panic attacks when I am on my own, and that can, you know, happen quite a bit. So it's nice to just, it must be like that soothing stroking, you know, where you're like stroking an animal, you like can almost feel that they're relaxed, and then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I need to relax too, you know.
Yeah,
there's just something comforting about it, you know.
Yeah.
To pet and be with an animal.
Yeah. I wanted to ask as well, because I know a little bit about Scotland, like I was talking about before, but from how it's pictured in movies and things like that, it seems like I was going to say a dark, dreary place, but what I'm meaning to think is a very rainy place and a very moody looking place. And I was wondering if you find, how does that affect your emotions or mood as well? Do you think that plays a role there?
That's such a good question. It is often pretty grey and pretty rainy, and I love that. And I think the reason I love that is because it's more quiet. It means that people are less likely to leave. Whenever it's dark and rainy, I'm like, yes, people aren't going to be on the street. There's going to be less traffic if I want to try and drive in the car. People are, if they see me in the street and they know me, they're just going to want to get past because it's raining, so I don't have to speak to them. And then as soon as the sun comes out, I like it, but I feel like the heat doesn't do well with my anxiety. It feels muggy, it feels close, it feels like every move you make, you're going to sweat. Everyone's out on the street all happy, and I'm like, oh.
I love your honesty there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn you people.
Fuck off with your happiness.
I know.
Yeah.
I know you get vitamin D and you're meant to get all these happy hormones, but I do not feel them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you just reminded me of something.
Go on.
So the other day I was going to work, and this month is really rough for me because it's too much at work. But I was just going to where I work, and there's usually a place next door where I can have lunch. And I heard this girl like, oh my God, it's so sunny, like such a wonderful day. I'm gonna get to it. And I was just like, damn you. Perfect day. I was just having a terrible day. And I'm like, what is this girl talking about? You know, it's just like, so for a second, I was like, oh my God, I sound such a hateful person.
No, but I totally feel that.
Yeah. So
it feels like that sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
As long as I don't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the main thing. Just think it and tell the therapist later.
Yeah. Tell it to your therapist.
Yeah.
I feel bad sometimes for therapists because they have to sort of hear the dark side of you, like all your dark thoughts. And then they're judging you.
Exactly. No, but not judging, because, well, at least the ones I've been to, well, they don't feel like they've
at least the
judged me,
terrible
at least,
ones.
but yeah. But I was gonna say before, Emily spoke about something. Oh yeah, you're saying how when you're with your therapist, you know, you went through those times where you laughed together and you cried together and you had like a really strong emotion there. And I wanted to touch a little bit on, I've brought this up in like multiple podcasts now, Gabby, you probably picked it up, but how dark your humor can get sometimes, like when you're getting, like when you're in really like anxious or depressive moods and things, and like the stuff you end up laughing at sometimes can be really, it can shock you at what you laugh at. Do you find that you have had a darker sense of humor sometimes and noticed it play a role in your life in some sort of way, like your attitude towards things and that?
I think I'm like that towards myself. I think I'm very much towards myself, like I will constantly make jokes about mental health in front of people all the time. And I've noticed, I think it's to make them more comfortable so that they don't feel like, most people in my life know that I have mental health problems. In fact, pretty much everyone. And so I always feel like, oh my God, they must feel really awkward. Like if I start, they're going to feel awkward. So I need to make a joke of it so that they feel okay, which is not my role. And I shouldn't feel the need to do that. But I'm just constantly like, if I make a joke about this, then they'll feel okay. But generally, I think I like pretty much all humor. I like most humor.
Yeah.
And I like to laugh at things. And I think that we do take things too seriously, especially us anxious people. We can take things really seriously and be like really worried about everything in our lives. So I think it's really important to laugh at everything you possibly can.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's really refreshing to hear. I didn't even think about that. But you made such a good point there with the whole trying to make other people feel comfortable around those kinds of things. Like I know, like being around my dad and his friends, they all seem like they're all very cool. And I don't know if they actually know what's going on for me, or, you know, what's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me as such, but like, you know, what I'm going through. I feel like a lot of people don't feel like they can talk about things, maybe not even related to whatever illness or condition you have. But it's like the chats become less funny as they used to be, and people don't want to say something that's slightly, you know, could trigger you. So they get really, they try to sit really safe on the safe side. And it'd be so awkward to have a conversation with. Like you said, sometimes just making a joke about it breaks the ice and brings them to say shit again.
I think that's all around education for everyone. If people felt that they could ask you, how are you? How's your anxiety been? Then they might feel more comfortable to be around you in general. Like, and maybe it's up to, I don't know who it's up to try and educate. I guess this podcast is also contributing towards that education. But I think people like, don't worry about asking me how I am. I'm not going to be offended. Like, I want you to ask me. Like, I think people are just like, oh,
you better not ask.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. It's probably the thing I hate the least about. Like, I feel with the stuff I have now, and by doing this kind of work now, I love talking about it because it's therapeutic, right? And like even just connecting with you, connecting with Gabby, and being able to like talk about this shit, it's like, it's just so relieving, you know, and you can't talk about it all the time. I mean, you don't want to be talking about it 24/7, but yeah, it's relieving to be able to talk to people who understand it. Yeah. So thank you.
It really, really is, especially when you can also take the piss out of it. Because it's like,
exactly.
I've got a few friends that go through similar things, and it's like, it's just so nice to be able to just laugh, and also to be able to take it back and tone it down and listen and like be there for each other and really know the difference. But yeah, we're not as sensitive as people think we are. Just because we have anxiety, it doesn't mean we're going to be anxious all the time.
Burst
I mean,
into
we are,
tears.
but like, let's laugh at it.
Yeah. I was meaning to ask you, how obviously, you know, your family members understand you and try to understand you. What was it like for you when you met your partner and you had to explain all your, you know, all your conditions and your phobias, you know, like was your partner understanding? Did you struggle to like connect? What was it like?
It's funny because I met my partner on Tinder. So I've been talking to a few different people, a few different women, a few different men on Tinder. And what I would always do is send them my YouTube channel. So it's really handy because I was like,
as an introduction, like a
your portfolio.
Exactly. We'd start chatting. Actually, there was one person that once swiped with me on Tinder that had watched my videos. And so they started talking to me like, hey, are you Emily? Like, I've seen your videos. And then they immediately matched with me.
Oh my God.
Cool.
Well,
all right.
Nice.
Not a fan then. Okay.
I know. So that was interesting. But with my partner, we were talking for a while, and then I messaged him my YouTube channel, and I was like, this is everything you need to know. And it's up to you how you feel about whether you want to meet me and go on dates and stuff. And there'd been a couple of guys I'd done that with before who were like, I don't feel like I could handle that. And I kind of respected that that's how they felt, but I was also like, I need somebody that's sensitive and kind. And my partner, I think, actually really liked that I did YouTube. They really liked that I go through the things I go through. I feel like it makes them feel like they can be very open with me too, because even people that don't have an anxiety disorder or any mental health stuff, they have stuff. Everyone, literally every single person has felt anxious, has felt stressed about work or whatever it might be. I feel like we maybe are extreme versions of like what the normal person feels every day too.
Yeah.
It's never completely alien to people, I think.
That's so nice. I love how you were able to find a really good person for you on Tinder. You know, just because Tinder has such a bad rep. I was telling Liv the other day that, you know, in its majority, you know, it's like a lot of people have bad experiences on it. It's so nice though.
Couldn't do it. I think my anxiety would just send me up the wazoo if I was talking to people on Tinder. Like, like what was that like for you? Like the whole finding of people. I mean, aside from just sending your YouTube and being like, hey, this is me, you know, sort of thing. Like, how did you find, you know, exposing, not exposing yourself, but like, you know, putting yourself out there to make yourself vulnerable, even more so to that?
I think, I don't have any social anxiety at all. So I'm really lucky in that front. I don't feel anxious at all speaking to people and being an idiot and embarrassing myself. I don't care.
I love that.
Yeah, if anything, I like
that.
it.
Yeah.
But
no, well, that's probably why you've got such a nice attitude, and you have been able to do this YouTube channel about it. And so that's really awesome. Yeah,
it is. And it helped with when I was on dating apps and stuff. Like, it helped to be like, I don't mind. But then it would be even things like going on a date with somebody, it would have to be in my little small town. I wouldn't be able to leave that small town, so I couldn't go and meet them in the centre of Edinburgh to go to a bar, which is what most people would probably do on a first date. Right. So it had to be a very specific type of person that was willing enough to understand somebody they'd never met. And my boyfriend, luckily, was that guy that was like, cool, yeah, let's go and be in your small town. And he moved here a few months later. So it was,
Oh, that's so
sweet.
Yeah. That's so nice though, you know, like that means that he really understands your needs, which is good.
Yeah,
that says a lot about him.
Yeah, I think if you're able to be as open as possible, I kind of use it as a defense mechanism almost, and say everything, all my diagnosis and all the things I go through, and then somebody can either choose to stay or leave. It's there, then they're what they want to do.
I love that. I was gonna ask you about your past relationships, just because in my case, like my past relationships gave me a lot of anxiety, to the point where I had to like create a system to get over, you know, the relationship, so I wouldn't have to go through my anxiety every day, because it was like too daunting for me. Like, what was that like for you, you know, for your previous relationships?
Yeah, I think so I was in another relationship for 6 years, from when I was in high school to when I was in college, kind of thing. And I think in hindsight, we definitely were not the right match for each other, but I felt like I would never find anybody else that could possibly understand what I go through. So I felt like in my 20-year-old brain, either I stay with this person who we don't actually get on, I don't think there's any love here, or I never find anyone else ever again. They were the only two options I could possibly imagine. And it's just not true. And I just want to say, if anyone's listening to this and they feel that way, it's so not true. And actually, it'd be much better being on your own. 100% so much better being on your own and listening to Lizzo every day than being with someone that you don't love.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds quite nice.
That is so deep though, you know, because a lot of people stay with the person that they're with just because they feel you genuinely feel that you're never going to meet somebody better or that will sort of, you know, like you or understand you, because you're so this odd creature, you know. And so it's so refreshing to hear you say that, because I mean, the struggle of getting over a relationship is painful, because it's kind of like a withdrawal period that you have to go through, you know. They say love is a drug, so it does feel like a drug sometimes, you know. But then when you're free, it's like it's so nice to be alone and just to find yourself.
It really is.
Yeah.
Nice. So what was that if you don't mind me asking, what was that time like, you know, after the that breakup period, you know, going from a 6-year relationship where you've, you know, probably learned so much about yourself and diagnoses and things to then, you know, accepting that you're going to be single and you're going to, you know, get by, you know, like what was that like?
God, it was really hard. I think any breakup, they're just horrible. They're so horrible. I want
oh my God.
be able to, like, every person that's going through a breakup, I want to be able to, like, just solve it because it feels so horrible.
It's even worse when you go, you know, when you go through anxiety and depression. It's even worse.
Sure.
Oh my God. It's
like a cherry on top. You're like,
I'm like, somebody sedate me, you know?
Yeah, literally. Yeah. It's hot. It's so horrible. It's just really like the worst feeling. And I think I lived with my parents at the time when I went through that big breakup. And I honestly don't really know what helped me, except all my friends are very understanding about what I go through, and they're very sweet. And even times where I couldn't leave the house, they would come and sit on the doorstep with me and just like chill out. And you know, it's just I'm very lucky to have people around me that are so lovely. I don't think Lizzo was even around then.
Oh,
so I don't know what I would have done.
Did you?
I know. I don't know what I don't have a clue how I got through that.
Oh my God.
Okay.
But you went through that and you managed to thrive.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's so nice. Can I just say something that is completely off topic? I love your couch.
Me too.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too.
I'm like looking at you and I'm listening, obviously, but I'm like, I love that couch. I love that couch.
Yeah,
it's just
such
like
a nice
the perfect color. Yeah,
it matches your nails, Gabby.
I know. I just love green in general. So obviously, I see plant, I see art. I'm like, I love you.
Yeah, you got a really nice vibe back there.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you're ever in Scotland, you're very welcome to come over.
Oh, thank you.
I would love to. Yeah,
I would love to as well. You know.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, I think we've covered a lot today, and I think we've also like spoken about some really nice things, and I've gotten a lot out of this chat. So thank you so much, Emily. And Gabby, of course, too. You know, you're my familiar face, but
thank you so much, guys. It's been so nice chatting to you both.
Yeah, and yourself.
It's so nice to meet you and so nice to talk to you. I feel like we could meet up for coffee and continue chatting.
Yeah. I wish that was how this podcast went. Yeah.
I know.
Maybe we should, you know, like if any of you is feeling like a little bit, you know, depressed or something, we could just like sit down and have virtual coffee, you know?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Idea.
Virtual coffee group. Yeah.
I was going to say the Agrophobe can't travel to you guys, but I mean, you feel free to travel here.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll come to you.
We will. I've got to go over to Scotland at some point, at least in the next couple of years anyway. So we'll make our way there.
Yeah. That'd be nice. Thank you so much, guys.
That's all right. So for those who are listening to the podcast and want to find out a little bit more about you, where can they go to find you? How do they find your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel, I think if you type in Emily Rose Anxiety, I will come up.
Oh, there you go.
That's just Emily Rose, apparently.
Perfect.
No, yeah, that's how I looked you up. I think that, Let me see what I typed. Yeah, you come up.
Perfect. Well, to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining today's podcast. If you'd like to watch the video version of this podcast, you can watch it on YouTube, or if you're wanting to listen to the audio version of this podcast, it is available on all major podcast streaming platforms. So enjoy. Thank you, guys. See you later.